Dude, ukemi might be the most important thing in martial arts to learn because even non-martial artists fall down.
What's the most efficient path to victory against this particular opponent?
He's dropping off for the choke here. We could see the finish. It's looking tight. Tight at Alpra.
Boom, we're live. Welcome Nathan Orchard to the show.
How's it going, man? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's great having you. We were talking before the show. We actually have never crossed paths, even though I guess we're both from the Pacific Northwest. I'm from Vancouver. And were you born in Seattle, Nate?
No, so I'm in Utah now. I was born in Utah. Then I moved to California as a kid. Then from 7 years old to 30, I lived in Oregon. Then I moved to Seattle for 6 years. And so I'm more of an Oregon boy than anything else, but now I'm living back in Utah. So it's kind of come full circle. It's pretty wild.
Nathan Orchard, a man who needs no introduction. He's a 3rd degree black belt under Eddie Bravo in the 10th Planet lineage. I was actually doing some research. You have an MMA past as well. So we'll definitely talk about your extensive martial arts experience outside of BJJ. And we're pretty much the same age. So I remember we're kind of now the old guard, which is kind of depressing. And we're actually about the same age, right? So I remember coming up and watching you compete and sort of, I was like, oh, that guy's really good. Sort of watching you fight basically a who's who. You fought guys from Diogo Hayes to Imanari to Krellenston. The list goes on and on. Eddie Cummings, right? So you fought everybody. Where are you living now, Nathan?
Yeah, so I'm in Pleasant Grove, Utah, and I'm actually about to open a school out here. It's just about 45 minutes south of Salt Lake. And, we've got the lease signed on the building and everything. So hopefully in the next couple months, construction always takes longer than you want. But yeah, ready to get it kicked off here in Utah, man. I'm stoked to, get back to running a school because I thought I was over that. I did it for a while and I stepped back for almost 2 years now. And I'm like, nah, I miss running a school. It's a cool thing to do, and I just enjoy teaching,
Yeah, I have a school myself. And I was kind of wondering, why wouldn't you come? Why wouldn't you stay in the Pacific Northwest? Because I love Oregon. For me, Oregon, if I was going to live in the States, that would probably be the place that I would want to live. And, what brought you to Utah rather than going to either sticking with Washington or Oregon?
Yeah, it just Seattle was just too crazy for me, honestly. There's just too many people there. I couldn't dude, houses are crazy expensive. So I actually went to Alabama for a year because
bit of a contrast there.
Well, I probably swung too far the other direction. You know what I mean? Seattle's one thing, Alabama's another. It turns out neither place is necessarily for me, but literally and metaphorically, I guess Utah's kind of that middle ground. I got a lot of roots here, and so yeah, just trying something new. There's a lot of 10th Planet in Oregon, and again, I was just kind of over the Seattle area. So Utah, there's something in Salt Lake. There's a 10th Planet, but yeah, just trying to bring a little more 10th Planet to Utah, and with all my deep roots here, it's just a good place to be for the time being. So yeah, I like it here. The air's a little too dry for me. I definitely love that moisture of the Pacific Northwest, dude. I am an Oregon boy at heart for sure. I'm sure I'll end up there. You know what I mean? But we'll see. We'll see where it takes us.
Mm-hmm. And so what exactly didn't you like about Seattle? What didn't you like about Alabama? Was it like those are two opposite sides of the political spectrum for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Seattle's very similar to Vancouver. Like whenever I go there, I'm like, it's basically like the Vancouver of the States, I guess. It's like, it's beautiful. There's great geography. The people are generally friendly, but there's tons of homeless people everywhere. There's tons of liberals everywhere. There's, there's little coffee shops everywhere and like little hipster places.
Dude, coming up in Oregon, I remember when I moved to Seattle, I was like, damn, everyone here is so clean. Like, where's my hippies at? I like those kind of like redneck hippie type folk, that's kind of who I grew up with. And then, yeah, Alabama, dude. I mean, I couldn't make anything stick there. I tried a few different things. And I mean, Alabama is beautiful, and I did get some good training down there at 10th Planet Huntsville. There's some good dudes out there, but yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just trying to flow with it all, and I feel like I got brought here. I got my oldest friend that set me up with my wife, actually, and so now we're business partners, and so this is where the tribe's at, dude. And it does feel good. It's like the first time I've felt like, okay, I kind of belong here. It's hard to know where you fit in the world, right? There's like no perfect place. There's just, everything has its pros and cons, and ultimately, dude, I just want to be able to go anywhere whenever I want to. I love traveling and kind of posting up in different spots. I love Wyoming. I love Thailand. I definitely love the Pacific Northwest, but no place is perfect.
Did you say you have children?
I do. I have two daughters. One is about 14 months, and the other is 6 years old. So,
Nice.
how about you?
Yeah, I'm sure you found that when you have kids, you can't just up and leave, right? You kind of get rooted into place.
It's not as fun to travel as it used to be. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like now it's really work, because like, especially with a 1 year old, like, dude, they change
Oh,
overnight,
it's crazy.
and I hate missing even a minute, but you know, duty calls and all that.
I talk to new parents out there because I got two kids as well. I have a daughter who's 8 and a son who's 6. And
Okay. Nice.
one thing they never tell they always tell you like your life is going to change when you have children, and I do believe that there's kind of a narrative where people are almost discouraged from having kids because they're told how expensive they are, and you can't just go on a vacation on the weekend or whatever and so there's almost like a negative association with having kids to new parents. But what they don't tell you is it's actually quite sad, because that little child that you're so attached to that child, and like you said, it's changing. Every year it's basically that old child is gone and there's a new child now. And
Yeah.
and then you fast forward like 3 years, and that baby that you once had is gone. You'll never see it again, only in
Yeah.
photos. And now, and then you fast forward 10 years, and now we're getting close to being a teenager, and that little girl that you once had is gone. And they never tell you how sad that is as a parent.
They don't tell you how sad that is. They also don't tell you how, I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, being a dad has made me stronger and smarter and, better with time management. And like, if I thought I was busy before I had kids, hot damn, like it's just because I didn't know how to manage my time. So I think kids make you step up and become better. And, otherwise life's just kind of like on easy mode a little bit, not to say life's easy. Life's freaking hard, and definitely adding kids to it is harder, but like, I'm also trying to play higher levels of the game,
Mhm.
so they motivate me to do that. That's for sure. And it is crazy, man. Cause nowadays, competing, I've got some matches coming up, and in the recent past, like, yeah, I was all of a sudden like one of the oldest guys in the tournament, and maybe one of the only couple who had a kid, and also running a business. And it's like, man, these 21-year-olds who's had dads that were black belts, and they've been training their whole life, and they don't have kids, and they don't run a business, and they're homeschooled, and they just fucking train all the
I
time. It's
know.
like, dude, they're different. It's a different thing now. We're playing different games now.
It's actually crazy how fast like your competitive career kind of passes you by, because I'm in that stage too where I'm like, shit, I guess I'm no longer the young kid. Like, I can remember when I was like a purple belt and people were calling me I would have success
Up
in
and
the
comer
room.
and all this stuff,
They'd be
right?
like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you're the next generation or whatever." And now I'm like, I blinked and that phase is over. And now I'm thinking like, shit, that was short lived. I started when I was 20. When did you start grappling?
I mean, I started wrestling when I was 12. I had my first MMA fight when I was 16, and then I had 21 total MMA fights.
Holy shit, that's quite
But
extensive.
my last fight was in 2012, so it's been like 13 freaking years, but that's right when I went all into jujitsu, and I got my black belt in 2014, and I've been competing at that level since then,
Hmm.
so it's been a nonstop. I've been on the mats nonstop since I was a kid.
Hmm. Are your kids in jujitsu?
Yeah. My daughter. So I also have a stepson, and he trains. He's definitely got some skills. And my 6-year-old little girl, she's an amazing mix of a freaking princess and a ninja. So she's got her moves. She's got her moves, but I try to just like trick them into it instead of making it like we're gonna. If ever I'd make it formal, they're
Yeah.
way less interested,
Yeah.
right? And so it's just like I just try to trick them into it.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand. Like right now, I think when they're in the kind of the 6, 7, 8 age group, you just kind of want them to have fun when they go. If you make it all about like one day you will be a champion, and you put that kind of pressure on them, I
Mhm.
find it's not as fun for them. And right now, I think in this age, the most important thing to do is just make them enjoy it. Or help them find a way to enjoy it. I always find kids that are forced to do things that just naturally don't want to stick with them.
Yeah, and then if they do, they, yeah, maybe fizzle out a little bit later. Or I know guys who spent their whole lives on the mats wrestling, and then they even become like an All-American or something like that. And then college done, they don't want to get back on the mats
Yeah.
again. Like they're not interested in it,
Yeah.
And that's a shame, because like that's the beginning. You know what I mean? Like I plan on grappling freaking till I can't get out of bed. So it's crazy to me to just like burn yourself out on something that could last literally a lifetime.
Yeah, I look that way at hockey. When I was a kid, nobody did jujitsu around here.
Mm.
Everyone was playing hockey. I played hockey as a kid, and like I was never really super talented at hockey. Like I had to work really hard, but all my friends were very talented, and they were trying to go to the show and everything. And then when that failed, they all kind of stopped playing. Like only a very select few of them still played just for fun. And I look at them, I'm
Totally.
like, man, this is like the most fun sport. I can't believe you guys burnt yourselves out, and now you don't want to do it anymore. And I think a lot of people could do that with like wrestling or jujitsu if they're pressured too much by their parents. And I think to parents out there with children, they want their kids to like go far in the sport. They see their kid as talented, and they want their kids to go far, but they're very, very young. I think the most important thing to do is just, keep them interested in the sport. Don't put these expectations on them that are unrealistic and kind of unfair, because in the end they could end up hating it.
I mean, fun is really the secret to success. If you can just make it fun and sustainable, that's the way.
Mm,
Yeah, I don't know. I think I kind of wish sometimes I had someone trying to make me a world champion. I was always self-directed, and maybe that's why it worked
me
out. I
too.
don't know, but some of these guys, I'm like, damn, it must be nice to have some kind of driving
Oh, I know.
force besides your own, just like wanting to prove yourself to people or something. But we're all on different journeys here.
Yeah, the sport has definitely changed from when I started. Like when I started, I don't know the statistics on it, but the average black belt I would have said would have been like close to 30. And
Mm.
now world class black belts that are winning at the highest level are like 20, 22. And I think a lot of that is because obviously the training methods are constantly changing and improving, but the support systems around some of these young athletes now is just like it just wasn't around when I was a kid. Like if you look at some of these AOJ kids, they're homeschooling their parents are black belts
That's right.
from our generation or even older, and everybody is focused and training their mindset on just like, okay, how can we get like a puppy mill of world champions? How can we sort of help these kids reach the highest level? The level of the kids these days is just insane.
Yeah, but if you look at it, like what are we? Okay, we're like third generation, sort of, right? There's like okay, our generation, and then there's like Eddie Bravo, and then there's like the generation before that, Jean
Yeah.
Jacques. So we're like third or fourth generation.
Yeah.
So we had it just as good compared to those, like I am better than those previous generations where like it was a underground thing to do jujitsu,
Yes.
and you and I, we're kind of like the millennium. We are the millennials, especially of jujitsu. Like we were there before it was a big thing, and after it was a big thing. We're that like transitionary kind of generation. The generation before us, dude, there are badasses that no one's ever heard of, just because jujitsu wasn't all kind of rock star shit like it is now. Which really, in my opinion, didn't even necessarily happen until Metamoris EBI. Like that's when jujitsu kind of like got cool and started going more like widespread and little rock star status. Before that, it was just like some crazy underground weird shit.
And I'd like to. I was planning on asking your opinion on things like instructionals and things like that, but in my opinion, and it's the opinion of a bunch of people, a bunch of my peers, that the explosion of the the jujitsu instruction that is so readily available to us now is like it's sort of carried the sport to a even higher level. And I know there are people out there that, a lot of the like the CLA approach kind of guys, they're not a big fan of. They don't think that instructionals, can really. I don't want to gaslight and say that they can't help, because I feel like a lot of these ecological guys, they've sort of changed their tune on instructionals. Like now you even have Greg Souders saying how, oh, it can absolutely be helpful because you can see what's available, which is what I was sort of arguing at the beginning of it, back when they were saying, oh, don't watch a DVD because it won't do anything for you. But like, you got all these tapes from like Danaher, Gordon, Mendez brothers, everybody now is producing content. And so and add to that the fact that there's social media. So, in the last like 2 weeks, I've learned like 2 or 3 different leg attacks that I didn't have because I saw someone doing it on social media, and I'm like, holy shit, that's possible. Let me try that.
That's a move. That's a move. Let me try. Dude, it's actually kind of a strange argument that everyone's like, oh, eco or drilling. It's like, well, how about a little bit of each? How about we flow back and forth? How about it's, it's not just one or the other, it's just funny how we want to like divide everything and put everything in boxes. But like, ultimately, don't we just want to use everything that works from every system? It's like the way of no way, which is the way of always. I don't know why we all got to be like, I'm an eco guy or I'm not or whatever. Yeah. It's like, dude, I don't know. Like, you know what I like? I like creating flows. I like drilling flows. Like, do I like drilling one move? No, I like drilling long combinations of things because to me, at least my style of jiu-jitsu, it's about connecting things. And so I like to just create paths that they can be fairly short or fairly long. I don't know, but I just like to flow between movements and then hit those over and over again. So it's like drilling, but it's also with the intention of like a goal, which is to create a nice smooth flow. And shit, it's worked for me. And that's all I can say,
So you use the word drilling, and again, not to throw shade at like Greg Souders or whatever, but drilling is a term that they use in almost a negative way, like, oh, don't drill because you're going to waste your time. But I think their drilling, it has to do with like, there's no resistance. It's like you're doing Toriando passes 100 times each side type stuff. And I don't think that that's particularly useful aside from maybe getting your heart rate up. But when I think of drilling, I always associate some degree of resistance, even if it's very minimal. And then that's right. As a teacher, I usually encourage the student to increase resistance as time goes on, right? Until it's almost resembling like a live game. So what is drilling to you?
Well, so yeah, I actually break it down. There's 5 levels of executing a move. There's, if you can't do the move with no resistance or even like just cooperation, how are you going to do it with resistance? Yeah. So that's the first level.
Like a Berimbolo, right? For example.
Right. Just like learning the movement, And so it's like, there's no resistance or there's collaborative resist. Like they're just because if you can't do a move against no resistance, there's no point. Yeah. Right. So it's like, you need a live person, but not live. So there's the first level, which is, again, no resistance. Then there's controlled resistance, which is like, like you're saying, like 20, 30%, still letting me do the move, but still I got to work a little harder for it. Right. And then that second level, you can go from 20, 30, 40, 50%. Then it becomes full resistance, like a roll, right? Like now you're rolling. And then the fourth level of resistance, in my opinion, is competition, right? So no resistance, controlled resistance, full resistance, competition resistance. And then, competition's even still different than fighting for your life. You know what I mean? So to me, that's like the highest level of resistance. And when I say resistance, I don't mean just how much someone's fighting me back, but like kind of how much is on the line too. You know what I mean? So you get that highest level where someone might bite your ear or friggin' stab you. You know what I mean? Like, there's more going on to that. So, we got to be able to work through them all, but, it's not just a simple answer of like drilling or not. It's definitely a spectrum, you know.
I couldn't agree more. Like the spectrum of resistance that you're adding, and I remember talking with Greg about solo drills because solo drills over the last couple of years have kind of been shit on, like the basic like animal drills and things like this, and man, I'm not saying that you should start your class with animal drills because we don't, but I can totally see moments where I show something to kids and I'm like, okay, let's go into this situation. Let's play here. I want to see you guys do these things, whatever. Maybe it's like a regard or maybe it's a wrestle up. And I'm looking around the room and I'm like, man, these kids, they're having issues sort of organizing how they're going to perform the task. And then I'm seeing what, certain movements that they're missing. So I bring everyone in and I'm like, okay, let's just practice these. Like, this is how I want you to bridge and then turn your hips over and get to the top position. Or this is how I want you to get up from your back to up to your two knees facing down. And we work it a little bit. And then I throw them back into the same situation. And now all of a sudden they have almost like, it's not like I've given them an answer, but I've sort of helped educate their movements and I can see improvements in real time. So if that's not an example of like how that can be a positive benefit, how the solo movements can positively impact the learner, like I don't know what is.
Dude, I'm a huge fan of solo movements. I do them by myself all the time, because moves are made of movements.
It's a movement-based game,
Completely. And there are fundamental like martial movements that if you kind of like instill them in your muscle memory, they come out in the moves, but it's like, yeah, but if you haven't kind of like built from the ground up these like basic movements, people do weird things. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I've got a massive list of martial movements that I'll just do on my own. And and then they can become super complicated, like an uchimata into a cartwheel or a shoulder. You can do some crazy things, and it starts simple, but then it gets complex really quickly. And yeah, I actually heard someone say, and this really stuck with me. I don't know how true it is, but still you'll get the point. Someone said, basically, if you can do a backflip, you can do a double leg, but just because you can do a double leg doesn't necessarily mean you can do a backflip, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like movement is the fundamental thing in it. So if you can move any way, you can do any move, but there's lots of movements people just can't do. Like even just sitting on your heels, like in a deep squat,
Mm-hmm.
and like not having to be up on your toes, like people struggle with that. And so certain things are just not as accessible to you, but
sorry, my cat is very, very fucking stubborn. It's constantly jumping up on me. I want to go back for a moment and just ask you about, because you had mentioned that you were teaching, you had a school, and then you sort of stepped away from it. You didn't know if it was for you. Why did you step away from teaching and running a school? And then why did you want to get back into it?
I had done it for so long that I think I just needed to step away to get some perspective. I've always kind of like run the whole, like I've been a one-man show mostly, and so I actually was going out to Alabama to try to integrate with the team out there, and it just didn't stick. I don't know if I was just too big of an animal for the ecosystem, and I just kind of like shook things up too. I don't know what the deal was. There's all kinds of just, my life was crazy in Alabama. I don't even want to get into it because it was just like weirdness. I moved over there and had a baby right away, and just it was chaos. And then I realized I'm like, damn, I guess I actually feel more comfortable running the show. Like I don't think I'm necessarily supposed to integrate. I think I'm supposed to kind of like do my own thing a little bit more and carve my own path. Maybe that means I just don't work well with people. I don't really know. But definitely I gained some perspective, and, again, just realizing like, all right, I kind of isolated out there and I was like, no, dude, having a crew is cool. Building something that's bigger than me is cool. And helping people learn and grow is cool. And I just kind of missed it. So I don't know, man, maybe more than anything, I just needed to gain some perspective and, just know for sure what I wanted to do. And, I've had plenty of time to think about it and work on it and all that. So I'm damn excited to get back to it, and starting out here, I've got the 10th Planet affiliation, but also the J Flow Judo affiliation, which I'm pretty stoked about. So we'll be doing, following that core curriculum and the no-gi judo, which is just so damn fun to me, So I'm pretty excited to just like, I've kind of like stepped away from a while for a while, I feel like, and I'm reemerging as something a little bit different. So, uh, yeah, looking forward to it.
What's the best and the worst parts of owning a gym, running a jiu-jitsu school?
Well, so when I decided I was gonna like do jujitsu, run a school and all that, I thought I was like escaping a normal job. And then the day that I realized I wasn't escaping a normal job and that I had to do like normal job
Yeah,
things, that's when I was like, oh damn, okay, I guess you can't really escape that. Another thing is like, and this isn't good or bad, I'm not saying either way, but it took me a while to realize like jujitsu is kind of like the last thing we do. Like we deal with people
totally.
and we deal with people's problems and their energies and all the things they're trying to do. It's just like, so we get to do jujitsu, but ultimately I feel like we're doing so much more than that, And so kind of to real like, cause again, I'm kind of like a martial arts purist. Like I don't really care about like, that's all I really care about. I don't do the social thing and I'm just like, I just want to train and I want to train and train and train and train. So to realize like, oh, not everyone's like a psycho like me and not everyone wants to train so crazy hard all the time or
Yeah.
everyone wants to be some people just want to have some fun and relax and learn some shit and kind of feel empowered. And so like getting my mind right on that and realizing like, oh, I'm the weirdo.
Yeah.
Not everyone wants to do what I want to do and like, learning to work with people on that.
You're
So,
100% correct. I can't say enough how true it is that like, if you get into jujitsu because you're passionate about jujitsu, all you want to do is jujitsu, and you thought that you were escaping a normal 9 to 5, which I do think it is, but
I mean, it still is like, I'd still rather do that than work at Home Depot,
a
or
hundred
whatever.
percent.
Yeah,
But it is true that it does become less and less about you doing jujitsu and more
yeah,
about like, running a business, making sure
yeah,
bills are paid, listening to people's problems. Like I'm
yeah,
sure you can agree, like a big part of my job is almost being a counselor, and
yeah,
a lot of the time I turn to a lot of my close students for my own personal counsel as well. Um,
exactly.
and I think that that's actually I actually enjoy that part of the job for sure. But if you're going into it expecting everybody to have the same passion for the sport as you, I think that that's kind of like that's on you, right? That's like an unreasonable thing to ask. I always
That's what I realized.
yeah, like I have a few kids that are super dedicated, right? And they want to be world champs or whatever. And I tell them, the more, just so you know, the more dedicated you are, the more you give your life and all of your attention to something, you're going to realize it's a lonely life. Like there's not a lot of people that have that same mindset as you. And I think as a gym owner, having that expectation for your students to be like you in that way is like that's your fault. And I sort of
Yeah,
realized that the hard way. It's hard
yeah,
to expect people to give everything to jujitsu. Like you said, a lot of these guys have lives, families. They just want to come in and like,
and our job became doing jujitsu. So, but that's not everyone's job,
yeah,
And sometimes I'm like, why aren't you guys training like it's your job? And I'm like, because it's not their job, dude. Like,
exactly.
this is actually an escape a lot of times from all the other
Right.
chaos, and they just want to come and let all that shit go for a minute. So, yeah, we're the weird ones.
100%.
Yeah.
What do you think is the best? What do you think is the best martial art for as a foundation for children?
Oh man, I mean, I think my opinion has changed over the years. I mean, wrestling's just not that fun. You know what I mean? Like I love wrestling. I wrestled, you know what I mean? But it's like wrestling's hard.
Yeah.
Um, Jujitsu is obviously the most fun, but as far as like even a super practical self, I honestly, man, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. I don't know. I think judo, dude. I think judo is what kids should learn. Teaches you how to fall, teaches you how to not get picked up, teaches you how to pick someone up. And I don't know, man, it's super practical. And considering, yes, everything does start on your feet, and yeah, sure, it goes to the ground, but like judo will control that, and maybe wrestling too. But like I said, the drawback of wrestling is it's super hard, and at least in this country, dude, like wrestling is, I feel like it's kind of new in a way. Like if you look at the way the Japanese train because of the judo roots, dude, everyone just knows how to break fall. And as a wrestler, no one ever taught me how to do a break fall.
Yeah.
And I think that right there is just something that's so small that's missing from wrestling. That's, gosh, it's so important. And a lot of other just like footwork and ideas, like wrestlers don't want to show their back, but like that's how you do an Uchimata. So sometimes showing your back isn't a bad thing. Or like, dude, I wish someone would have shown me in wrestling, like you get taken down, how you can just butterfly sweep someone.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So uh I think if I could get my kids into anything right off the bat, and there was, I had to choose, I don't know, I think I might be choosing judo these days. But my core love is jujitsu. Don't get me
Right.
wrong. I'm just saying if you only had to choose one, judo's pretty solid.
How do you feel about the formality around judo as opposed to the non-formality of like jujitsu per se? Obviously we got to have these kids disciplined in class. We can't have them running around and not respecting their coach or whatever. But like,
Yeah.
if you've ever got, I'm sure you have because you're a knowledgeable guy. But like, if you ever go to a judo class, it's very formal. They're almost like praying at times, and it's supposed to be everyone's quiet and very respectful. How do you think kids react to that as opposed to like a more relaxed environment like a jiu-jitsu setting?
I think that some people love that and some people are less into it. I honestly, most of my judo training has been on a far more informal kind of way, especially a lot of the nogi. Like I've done,
Hmm.
I started off nogi judo with a guy, Lou Hung, out in Oregon, Mustache Lou. I think he's in Hawaii now, actually. And then with J Flow, and J Flow's all nogi, and he's not making you do all the bowing and all the crazy things.
Hmm.
Now, I love people who come in with that old school traditional martial arts attitude and respect.
Yeah.
I always can see it and I always appreciate it, but I never enforce it. And I'm fairly informal myself, even though I appreciate the formality. So I don't know, man. Again, I'm always kind of that middle ground kind of guy. It's like, dude, the form, like, I think it's sad these days that like kids, like, okay, dude, I was raised Mormon, okay? And I'm not Mormon. I haven't been Mormon for 20 plus years. But one thing I learned in Mormonism that was like I think kids need to learn these days is just like reverence. Like what is reverence, or respect? And so, but without the dogma of religion, but like how can we still learn these like super important things that make us like, respect life even. So, but without being all dogmatic about it, right? So, yeah, I'm never going to enforce the formality. I appreciate the formality. I try to be as respectful and kind of clean across the board as I can while still just being like a normal person, and I'm not in martial arts for the religion of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you guys line up and bow before after class?
I have never bowed. I've never bowed before or after. The way I step onto the mats, people think I'm bowing because I'll like back up and kick my shoes off so they're pointing out, or kick my flip flop sandals or whatever. And so it kind of looks like I'm like backing up and bowing, but the way I just kick so I do think that I think like again, it looks like I'm being all super formal. I'm actually just being super practical and kicking off my shoes in a way that I can step right off onto them without having to turn all weird and sideways and put them back on. I think we have like, or for another example, like before you eat food, going into a gratitude state of mind, it actually it causes rest and digest. You go from fight or flight to rest and digest. So your food actually digests better. But it's not about like praying and so that I go to heaven and I'm not, God loves me. It's like, well, no, it's actually just purely practical to be a little grateful before you eat. But then we just wrap it up in dogma and being a good person or not a bad person. And I just think we've taken super practical things and dogmatized them. I think is what it's really come down to.
Do you guys like shake hands, or is there no formalities? It's just, okay, guys, see ya. Because we didn't
You
shake
know,
hands for the longest time in the adult class, and then like someone suggested it to me. They're like, hey, maybe we should shake hands. And I'm like, why? We're not kids. Like, I make the kids shake hands because I want them to, I want them to get into a routine, I guess, more than anything. And, all the respect and stuff. And then, and they were like, well, if we shake hands, there are people that might not want, like people that will always be on the other side of the room that train with their buddies, and they're not necessarily training with other people. And this is a way to just sort of like cross paths and for lack of a better word, come into contact with those people and to just sort of improve the gym culture altogether. And I was like, all right, fuck it, we'll try it. And we did it. And I'm like, wow, I actually really like the handshake. It does make sense when I didn't do it for years.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually have never done it. I like it. I've had like my, like people teaching classes at my school do it, and I always appreciate it. I swear to you, dude, I just forget. I'm just like so in my own world. I'm like, cool. And class. And I always do the clap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got everyone, we all sync up and clap. But, yeah, that's like I'm saying, dude, it's kind of my problem sometimes is like, dude, I'm not really a great coach. I'm a great teacher, but a coach is like another thing, right? And that's just not what I'm like super good at. I'm not like a community builder. I'm just like a guy who wants to teach martial arts. So I forget a lot of these like super important things. Like, yeah, hell yeah, dude. Dapping each other up after classes, it does bring people together, and it is important. I'm just I forget sometimes, and I mean, I'm all about it, dude. I'm just kind of all over the place myself. I'm like, cool, let's roll now. But. I forget to take pictures and all the things, and people like that stuff, and it is good. And I like it when I do it and I look back, but I guess I just got to create my routines and stay mindful, but there's definitely lots of benefit in that for sure.
I couldn't agree more with you when you say sometimes you just forget. Like, I totally forget that. I even have buddies that are like, dude, you should be taking photos. Like, this is a good turnout today. You should take photos and put it on social media. And I'm like, yeah, shit, I probably should do that. I just didn't even think about it because I was focused on like, the material that we were going to go over that night and how we're going to run the lesson.
Exactly.
Did you, I don't know. I didn't remember if you answered this. What was the worst part of owning a gym for you? Like, what didn't you like about it?
I mean, like no one likes to be tied to anything. And so like I'll notice this, dude. Like I'll be teaching all these classes. And then I'm like, damn, I don't really want to train right now, or I don't really want to go teach class right now. And then I forget, and then one day I'll like just have like a homie sesh where me and a homie just like do jujitsu because we want to, so sometimes doing jujitsu because you want to, that's a whole other thing to being like, and now I got to teach class, and so that can be hard, to like, just being like always having to like kind of like put your good face on to teach class. You know what I mean? Even if you don't want to. Now there's definitely, benefit and all that sort of thing from that. But I would say just like having to do it when I don't necessarily want to. And again, that's just life. We have to do things we don't want to do. But what I'm telling you is when you compare that to doing jujitsu with your homies because you want to, it's just a different vibe. And sometimes I teach so many classes, I don't get to do that personal homie training. And so anyway, it's good for me to just kind of get back to that. If I stay balanced like that, it's all good, but I don't know. Probably cleaning up people's fucking Band-Aids after class, dude. You know what I mean? I'm like, gosh dang, guys, like
water bottles.
Yeah, water bottles, man. And just like toilet paper on the ground. It's like, guys, like seriously.
No, I know. It's true. Like people will just leave their like they'll leave fucking their underwear around. I've had underwear. I've had people leave. This is crazy. I've had people leave their shoes. I've had people leave car keys and never come back to get their fucking car keys. I'm like, how does that even work logistically?
They got their ass beat so hard. They're like, fuck it, dude. Let's buy a new car.
Yeah, it's crazy. You definitely meet some interesting people doing what we do. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about on this podcast, because, you're quite a cultured individual. I've seen you do these videos where you're doing like all different types of techniques and you're making judo references. You're using the Japanese words. You're doing all types of, you have a martial arts background. You've competed at the highest level in jiu-jitsu. Like you're a martial artist. The Japanese called their favorite techniques Tokui waza. And I was wondering, you know, watching you do, you know, you're known for, obviously you have like rubber guard, the dead orchard. Like this move is the figure four top lock, as Danaher calls it. The dead orchard is a move that you made very, very popular. And I wanted to get your insights onto like your favorite techniques. How do you know if a move is effective? How do you know if you should invest in a move? You know, first of all, what is your Tokui waza, your favorite technique, or do you have one?
I mean, if you're gonna make me choose, stand up wise, I'm finding right now, dude, that they're like, dude, I've been doing uchimatas, so I thought for like 25 years, but I was basically doing them not as good as they could be done for 22 years. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so I'm right now diving deep into Uchimata. I think Uchimata is it's got to be the most important, or again, it's my favorite because I think it's so versatile. You know what I mean? It can be a defense, it can be an attack, it can go into leg locks, it can just go into so much shit. And it's like I said, dude. I thought I knew. I didn't know. I didn't know anything about Uchimata until I started working like with like Lou Hung and Justin Flores, and then I was like, hot damn, this goes way way deeper. So I'm super fascinated by that, and it's a two-part thing, right? It's like not just about doing the Uchimata. It's about the other side of that is being good at being thrown by an Uchimata. Like that's the thing about judo that's really tough is to get good judo work, you have to have a good uke.
Yeah.
And if your uke can't accept the techniques and there's resistance or if they're apprehensive, all of a sudden your reps don't get good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like you need to be good at being thrown and good at throwing in order to get that good work in. So there's a lot, not just doing the Uchimata, but being thrown by the Uchimata. If you understand both of those things really, really well, I mean, that's again where the gold is. Um, as far as on the ground goes, it's just like, dude, rubber guard is something I fall back to. It's something that I always have, and whenever I get there, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm home. Like this is like where I thrive and very very dangerous. But I love I love kimuras. I love the kimura paths. I love how kimuras can take you anywhere you want to go. Like once someone's like learned enough jujitsu to where they come to me and they're like, okay, what do I work on? I'm like, dude, grabbing kimura grips from anywhere, from everywhere, just finding kimura grips. I think that's one of the most important things that people could do early on because again, it just takes you freaking everywhere. But
Absolutely.
it's also a rabbit hole that goes deep, you know.
I like how you said, you know, you've been doing Uchimatas for like 20 years and now you're finding that there's things that you could do to make that move even better. And,
So much better.
you know, anyone who's done grappling for an extended amount of time can, you know, agree with that. And I have that all the time, you know, moves that I've done since white belt. And then like, I'll just be watching something like a Danaher tape or one of my students will come to me and be like, hey, what do you think of this? I saw this on, whatever platform. And I'm like, holy shit, that makes so much sense. Like that
Yeah.
you just given me some kind of insight that will make that way more effective. Like I've had that with like rear naked chokes recently, for example.
Mm,
And
I love
it's a funny sport how you can do something for so long and then be missing details that can just make it like 30% more effective. So what?
Oh, dude, it makes me feel stupid. I'm just
Oh
like,
yeah.
sometimes I'm like, how have I been missing this the whole time? Or how did nobody show me this 20 years
Yes.
ago? Like all the time, I'm like, what were my wrestling coaches doing? Like, goodness gracious, there's some, but they didn't know too. They're also just dads. I, for some reason, put my wrestling coaches on some sort of pedestal, like they know everything. You know what
Right.
I mean? But still, there are some things I'm like, damn, how did I miss this for so long?
What details have helped your Uchimata recently? I assume you're primarily hitting it from like a whizzer or an overhook.
I mean, I do hit them from overhooks more, but they're great from underhooks.
Yeah.
But dude, like if you're doing an Uchimata with your right leg, like straightening your leg out, turning your knee inward, right? So it's just like that inward rotation, kind of like if I was like
Of the throwing leg or the planted leg?
of the throwing
Yeah.
leg, right? So it's like really looking away from my partner and then turning my hip the same direction that I'm like kind of turning my head, right? Like if I'm doing again with my right leg, I'm looking to my left and I'm like rotating my hip inward towards the left, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
and really straightening my toe
Away
out
from them.
away from them, dude. Yeah, away from them. And like keeping your legs, like people you see Uchimata's the person doing the Uchi like has a bent leg, and dude, you're just robbing yourself of so much. And then just having the ability to hinge completely down.
Mhm.
Like, so, again, just flexibility and balance there. Right. So, I mean, man, that was such a crazy detail. I'm like, oh man, I wish someone had told me to turn, and it was Justin Flores, turn your hip in, straighten that leg. Like, I wish I could I wish the listeners could see, because look, if you want to see, just go check out how J Flow does his uchis. You know what I mean? And the way they stick it at the end, you start watching good judoka. When they do a move, they they'll like do an uchi and then boom, and then they just like stop there for a second with their leg in the air and their hand on the ground, and they're pulling on their opponent's arm, and they just like create this beautiful martial shape. And it just is an indicator of a freaking great technique.
So whether it's from whizzer or underhook, what kind of control do you like on the far arm?
I mean, I typically just have a wrist, but man, there's all kinds of crazy. Like I could have a grip with my left hand on the wrist. I could be grabbing like behind their elbow, almost like I was going for an overhook with my left, but also an underhook on that forearm, like
Mm.
pulling up. It's crazy how many grips there are.
Oh yeah.
And that's another thing. It's like all the different grips, and then all the way you can release, whether you have an overhook or an underhook, the way you can release that, the way you can cartwheel out of it. I mean, dude, it just goes on, and it's really just like individually very simple, but putting it all together, man, it's freaking beautiful.
When did you have you ever trained in the gi? Is that something you've ever put time into?
I would say 90% of the gi training I've done was with the intention of doing judo,
Mhm.
right? And so, of the thousands and thousands of hours I have put in, maybe I'm up to like maybe I'm up to 15 hours in the gi
Okay.
total.
So
So
quite small.
very quite small, quite small. And if I was doing it, like I said, it was basically specifically for judo.
Yes.
Um, but I'll tell you, a few years ago, because I'm always like, all right, like I need to see what's up with the gi and no gi and all this stuff. This was quite a while ago, but it was when I was in Portland. There was a really good. He was a 4-stripe brown belt, but he was supposed to be like really, really good in the gi. Okay, so I'm like, cool. I'm gonna put a gi on and see how this goes. And like positionally, he definitely crushed me. Like he just had grips, and then he gi choked me one time in 10 minutes. And I was like, okay, cool. Like I didn't get just demolished. Yeah, positionally, but I didn't get like tapped out a whole bunch and whatever. And then we took the gi off and did a no gi round, and I tapped him, 4 times in 4 minutes.
Right.
And so it's interesting just to kind of get perspective on that and how that works. But I think the gi is super fun for judo on the ground. I don't, it's not, it just doesn't interest me because I was a wrestler, then did MMA. In fact, when I got into 10th Planet, dude, I didn't know that it was like controversial to not do the gi. I had never done I didn't even know the gi was like a huge deal until I kind of got like into 10th Planet. And then I learned that there was like some controversy, especially back then about it. It was a lot different.
In 10th Planet, there was controversy not doing the gi.
No, in the Jiu Jitsu community.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Most people off the 10th Planet guys didn't put the gi on.
Yes.
And I didn't know that was a problem until I got deeper in. I was like, oh shit, like people don't like that. I thought that was crazy.
Those people are called Brazilians.
Right. And so, dude, don't get me wrong, as a martial art, I think it's beautiful and cool and interesting and obviously vast, the things you can do with the gi. It just overall just doesn't, I'm just a no gi guy. I don't know what to say, but I do love the intricacies of the judo grips and the throws. And judo is really fun with the gi because you just more control, so it's actually, I think, lower impact, doing no gi judo, you better have your ukemi down, if you want to like, have a good time and it not suck. I feel like with the gi, it's a lot easier to control and make it softer, so
Do you believe that like training judo in the gi could help your no gi uchimata, or is there like no crossover?
No, for sure there is. For sure there is. I mean, it's still martial movement, and I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Okay, like I'm not going to claim to be some judoka. Okay, but to me, it feels a little bit like training wheels in a great way. It's like, okay, put the gi on, try these grips. It's really easy. I mean, like, again, I'll just be out in my garage with a homie and we'll put gi tops on just to mess around and work some different grips and some throws. And then we take the gi top off and we go no gi. And all of a sudden, I do feel like my no gi does get tighter after the dealing with the friction of the gi and all these things. All of a sudden, I'm like, ooh, yeah, I like how much. I don't know if nothing else. I won't say if it makes you better or worse, but it definitely just gives perspective. You know what I mean? It just gives you another look.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's ever a bad thing, you know, especially again, stand up wise. I think that even the gi is super practical. Um, Again, I'm just like on the ground. I would just never grab, I would never need to grab someone's clothes to submit them or whatever. But like standing, sure, dude, I'll grab a shirt or a jacket or whatever and I'll rip you with it, dude,
Mm-hmm.
So, but then I'll probably just end up going to some sort of no gi grip on the ground if that was my intention anyway. Not like I'm getting in any street fights or anything. I'm only fighting if I'm getting paid. So,
Let's imagine we are day one white belts or whatever. We're white belts with like a month of experience and we're new to the sport. How do you encourage that learner? Which techniques are the ones that they should be investing their time on? Like there's so many, like we forget sometimes what it must be like to be a beginner in this sport. And just like you go on Instagram, there's tons of techniques, just techniques in every position. And like you're kind of, you almost have too much information at this point in the game. How would you encourage a novice athlete which direction they should go when they're essentially adding tools in their metaphorical tool belt?
yeah, I feel like I'm kind of late to the party on this, and it's almost embarrassing. Like, dude, here, let me answer your question this way. Maybe if I could tell myself at the very beginning what to focus on, I swear to you, I'd be like, dude, it's not that fun at first, but it becomes super ninja. Get so good at ukemi, get so good at break falls and shoulder rolls, break falls, and learning how to stand up efficiently using momentum. Like, I say the four most important things in martial arts. Everything else is just a cherry on top. Okay. But the four most important things are footwork. Okay. Now footwork can also bleed into distance management. So I'll kind of circle back, but like footwork, not tripping over your feet and like moving efficiently, knowing how to fall and not get hurt. Right. So ukemi, knowing how to stand up with or without, using your arms. And then striking defense, which again is like distance management. So it's like, so footwork and striking defense, they kind of bleed into each other. Falling and standing, quickly, safely, efficiently. Like those are the most important things in martial arts. Like ukemi saves more lives than arm bars do. Plain and simple. Saves on medical bills, everything. It's just like learning how to fall gracefully is such an important life skill, whether you're a martial artist or not. Like,
Yep.
dude, I think that systemically, if people learned how to break fall, whether they're doing martial arts or not, like everyone should learn how to do it in elementary school or whatever, because
Like the Japanese do.
that's what I'm saying, dude.
Yeah.
I bet you, if you look at the stats, there's probably less broken hips over there.
Probably. Yeah, I would
You know what I'm
imagine.
saying, dude? And broken arms from falling, especially for older people, And so it's just like, dude, that is some of the, like, ukemi might be the most important thing in martial arts to learn, because even non-martial artists fall down.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Plain and simple. So I would say, man, just get good at not being afraid of falling. Make falling your friend, and get really good at like cartwheels and shoulder rolls. Man, that right there, it will just give you levels of movement and athleticism that will pay off more than learning techniques will, in my opinion.
For sure. If there were, okay, let's say there's a beginner and you've invested heavily in ukemi and they're learning how to fall and just general transitions from like standing to ground. What submission system do you think you would direct them toward first? Would it be Kimura?
I mean, ultimately, I think that the smartest answer is paths to the back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Paths to the back. That's got to be the most important, right? If the back is king, so and how many paths to the back are there? Gosh dang, there's tons.
Yeah.
And from what position? Both standing, or one guy sitting, or a guy's above you, or whatever. You know, there's so many variables. And definitely kimuras are a great way to get to the back. Like I love a rolling kimura. Someone sits down, rolling kimura, boom, to the back, to truck or whatever. So again, yeah, it's like to the back, and that could even just be, simple like duck unders and arm drags, and even like if you're in butterfly, like a 2-on-1 grip and sitting back and kind of like lifting them above you and then pushing their arm across, boom, there's a back take, right? So it's just like, honestly, kind of start, I hate to say, collect moves, but like kind of find out how many ways you can get to the back, or start with a couple and get good at those. But it's definitely got to be back attacks,
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of people go in on leg locks too soon, and it creates, I think, a crutch, because it'll take you so far so fast, but then that advantage kind of goes away at a higher level, and then you're like, wait, now I got to get good at like passing guard and shit. So
That literally happened to me. I can remember. I think the year was like 2018 when I finally like really started delving into leg attacks, and it was like leg attacks and barambolos, and I had a lot of success with that on a local level, because back then you could literally touch a guy's foot and he'd tap.
straight up,
So like,
straight up.
there, I think as a coach, sometimes when you see new techniques, there's a novelty aspect, that like surprise aspect, and you can absolutely have success in competition. And at the end of the day, as a coach, is that not what I'm trying to do? Is help athletes. Sorry, my cat is being a fucking bitch right now. Can you just go away? Holy shit. There's a novelty to like, giving your students, I don't want to say secret weapons, but it's kind of like, yeah, if there's a move that nobody knows how to defend, that's an advantage. You could totally exploit that, right? And so leg locks were that for maybe a year or two, but then all of a sudden everybody is seeing how effective these leg locks are, and Danaher releases enter the system. Yeah, and that's the problem with like techniques that are there's a novelty around them, is there's also a shelf life associated with them, especially at the highest levels. Guys are going to start nowadays. It's like you have to have leg locks, because everybody sees how valuable they're no longer looked at as like a dirty technique. It's like you have to have them. And so like I that happened to me, and then I went back and I was like, shit, maybe I should focus on my fundamentals. And then I after a bunch of studying, I realized I was like, man, there's so much I don't know that I should have learned when I started.
But I was so busy leg locking fools. But I mean,
exactly.
And it's interesting, because the jujitsu world is one thing, okay, and so winning nagas or winning whatever nogi, it's like, or whatever in the jujitsu world, that's cool. But I'm not just about jujitsu. It is the nucleus of my martial passion, so to speak. But dude, so many people are missing out on so many things. Again, if you want to win jujitsu matches, sure, go do some straight ankles and shit. But I'm actually just trying to be an overall proficient martial artist everywhere. You know what I mean? And so what's the goal? That's the whole question you got to ask yourself. Like, what are we trying to do? Are we just trying to win nogi matches or jujitsu matches, or are we trying to be just like fucking dangerous? Mm-hmm. Those are just different goals, and there's not one that's right. It's just, we got to know what the difference is, because again, sitting on your ass and leg locking someone, hell yeah, you'll win matches like that, but you won't ever win fights. And if you don't care, that's fine. If you don't care about winning fights on the street or whatever, but like, again, I just am trying to be overall proficient, and just different goals.
Do you do weapons training?
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely.
What do you like to practice? Everything?
I mean, I love a katana. I love a samurai sword or any stick fighting. I mean, nunchucks, I love archery. There's some I love to throw knives. Like throwing knives is crazy fun to me. It's like weirdly like similar to foot sweeps because it's all about like manipulating like quarter turns. And so when you learn to see the quarter turn of a knife, thrown at 21 feet, it does something to your eyes. You know what I mean? Like once you can start again reading quarter turns of a knife, there's some just like high levels of awareness that come with that. And for me, it helps with foot sweeps. So, I kind of dabble in everything. I'm not like the best at any of those things, but I think if you were to put all of my martial skill together, including the striking and the grappling and the weapons and all the things, it's like I got my bases covered for sure. You know, I'm at least ready to start going on anyone. Like I know enough about the samurai sword or some of these things that if I were to like find a great teacher, I could just instantly start learning. I've got my basics down, like I'm ready to go. So yeah, I try to mix it all in, but I do always try to funnel back the lessons to jujitsu for sure.
What about firearms training?
That's not something I've done very formally, but being like a Southern Oregon kid, like and I'd spend my summers in Wyoming on my family ranch. So my granddad's ranch out there. And so, dude, I just shot like guns like a redneck. You know what I mean? Like trust me, I've shot guns my entire life, but not in like the formal, like follow all the rules kind of thing. I'm just like, dude, I'll just go out with the 22 and go plinking all day, shoot prairie dogs or whatever. So I definitely shot lots of guns. And that's something I do want to like. I would love to delve into that deep and go John Wick style with it. You know what I mean? I'd love to get really good at what is that called? Where you're like doing like clearing rooms and stuff. I can't think of what that's called right now.
Just basically like tactics, like moving and shooting and
Yeah, I think that'd be super fun to get trained up and how to, change out my magazines quick or whatever it is. But, as far as getting the job done, yeah, I can do it for now. But I definitely would like to become like someday I'll definitely put some work into it and some time, some energy.
If given the choice between joint locks and chokes, what would be your favorite choice?
Gosh. I swear to you, I just don't really care. I don't really think about it. Like I'll just do what comes. You know what I mean? Like yeah. I really have never like I've won lots of tournaments with a choke, an armbar, and a leg lock.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't really shoot for one
No
thing
preference.
specifically. I love a wrist lock if I can get it.
Nice.
Yeah.
How do you deal with younger grapplers? Like more explosive, more athletic?
Whoop their ass, dude. That's what I do.
What's that? Kick their ass? Is that what you said?
Kick their ass. That's how I deal with them. I don't know, man. It's like there's younger athletes and then there's like younger world class athletes. And those are obviously two different things, like the Rotolos, you know what I mean? Like good luck friggin' doing anything. But I don't know. I definitely slow it down with those young guys and I try not to just fight pure explosiveness. Now I win the little battles, stay smart and safe and try not to just freaking kill myself getting those little psychos, they are intense.
Mhm.
You know?
How has your martial arts style changed as you've aged?
God, I don't think it has too much. I swear. Like I'm actually still doing things like I'm learning new movements that I've never been able to do before. Even now, like I was working on front flips. Like I feel like I feel like I can do more things now than I've ever been able to. I just don't recover as quickly. You know what I mean? And so I think if anything, what's changed is my recovery and my health and wellness, you
Mhm.
know? And that's the thing I wish people would just learn young. Like don't wait till you're old and broken to start taking care of yourself. Just start taking care of yourself before you're broken. It's just that we don't do that because we don't feel the need to because we're not broken.
It's true.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like youth is wasted on the young sort of a thing.
You
But
you either suffer now or you're gonna suffer later type thing.
that's it. That's it. Pretty much.
Do you
So
do you like study? Do you watch material? Where do you get the majority of like your new ideas from as a martial artist?
oh yeah, I watch all kinds of things. I mean, just like weird, random, like, dude, I don't care. I'll pick up moves from WWE. I don't care. Like,
Yes.
like there's something to learn everywhere. Or even I've like I don't know, like even like, dude, I got into drawing and sketching, and that did something for my martial arts.
Hmm.
It like helped me see lines and shapes and angles better, and the connection between things. So I don't know. I think one thing I'm good at is just taking from anything and learning from it, and weirdly drawing and sketching were one of those things. So which was very unexpected.
Do you watch WWE now that you mentioned it?
No, not with any kind of consistency. No, but there are things I've legitimately done from WWE, or I can be like, this is a WWE thing. Like reverse gut wrenches and lifts and power bombs or whatever.
Boston
But
Crab?
yeah, oh yeah. But I love Aikido. I think there's really cool stuff in Aikido and some other things like that. The weird traditional martial arts, and I like Qigong and Tai Chi, even just the soft arts. Like I just really like to dabble in all of it, man, because it's more than anything interesting.
Do you
You know?
practice Tai Chi?
Yeah, yeah, not like really consistent. More Qigong, I'd say, which I guess they're different. Um, but the thing is, like, I'll do things that I'm like, oh, this is what Tai Chi is. Like, it's just like I can do a certain movement that's like a foot sweep movement, and if I do it without a partner, I'm like, oh, I can create like a Tai Chi drill. And so again, it all connects. It all connects. It's wild like that.
What supplementary martial art has helped your jujitsu the most?
Dude, learning the samurai sword did something. It definitely did something for me. And just like seeing the cleanliness of kata and seeing perfection, that made a big difference for me. Like just it's either perfect or it ain't. That's just all there is to it. And you can really see like when a guy swings a sword, if it's straight or if it's wobbly. And if you can just create clean movement in jujitsu the way you have to create clean movement with the sword, that changed my mentality for sure. You know,
Someone breaks into your house in the middle of the night and you have the
Sword.
choice to grab
I
a
got a sword, dude. I got a sword right by my bed, and it comes out faster than you can even believe. I swear. It's like,
would you use like a slashing techniques or stabbing techniques?
I'd be running with an upward slash. I'd be going right. Trust me, I've put a lot of work into just like going towards someone and cutting, and then if the distance is closed from there, I can let go of the sword. Now they're in my hands, and they're in even more trouble.
Would you be looking to like slash someone's head off, or would you be looking to stab them through the chest?
Dude, I'm pretty sure I would be doing diagonal cuts across the neck. That's what just comes. It would just be like an upward slash from left to right, and then back downward slash right to left. Um,
My only concern is corridors, Is that going to affect how you
for
attack
sure.
someone? Yeah.
I absolutely, dude. Absolutely, yeah, it's true. And but like, okay, so when I say katana, I'm not being accurate. It's a wakizashi, a short,
Okay, yeah.
right? So much shorter. And I don't know. The reason I say sword, dude, is because unless your gun is loaded and ready to rock, dude, waking up out of a dead sleep trying to get that thing, like I could grab a sword and go way quicker. You know what I mean? That's why I say that. Now maybe it depends on the scenario. If there was like someone outside my house and I had like 30 seconds, then that'd be like a different thing. You know what I mean? But like a knife is way quicker or blades way quicker to get going just right off the bat. So that's why I say that.
That makes sense. Last thing I was going to ask you is, are we ever going to see you in competition again?
Yes, I've got 2 matches scheduled. One, I believe it's February 7th in Spokane, Washington, and it's I think the pit fighting
Oh, cool.
something's I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's going to be in a bowl, and so that's cool. And I don't know right now who my opponent is. And then March 28th in England. Um, dude, I'm blanking on the
Is it
competition.
Polaris?
No, it's not Polaris. It's hold on, I've got it right here.
Forget what's the other promotion over there. There's another one that's over there.
Yeah, where did okay, here we go. Oh, Grapple Worlds.
Grapple Worlds. Do you know
and
who
it's a
your
main
opponent
event
is?
against Cal Eleanor. So yeah, that's what I got coming up. I got a couple matches, and I'm stoked. Both main events.
That's fucking awesome. That's great to see you back in competition. I assume you're going to be using some judo. Is that something
I
you want
sure
to be
hope
using?
so. I sure hope they don't just sit right down.
Nice. Do you watch competitive judo?
A little bit, dude. You know what else I just watched, which was dude, sumo.
Oh yeah, that's badass.
Sumo's badass, dude. I'm like, this is what's up. This is a cool sport right here. So yeah, I definitely like watching, Olympic judo and just whatever comes up across my feed or whatever. But also, dude, sumo is some interesting, cool stuff, which is obviously very closely related to judo. They, use tons of the same techniques.
Is there a match that you've had in your career that stands out as like this was the most difficult one, or this one was the hardest? This one was the most grueling or the most challenging?
I mean, mentally, the craziest match for me mentally was going against Imanari because he was such an idol, and so to face him, that was not only like really cool, but you know, it was just like a good practice for me to not let the hype get in my head, and to not just be like, so starstruck or whatever that I don't perform. So that was good, and that was like a savage freaking weight cut that I had to do for that one. Um, man, I mean, dude, some of the hard nights are just like, 4 matches in combat jiu-jitsu. Like I've made it to the finals of combat jiu-jitsu worlds, I think 4 times. And dude, 4 combat jiu-jitsu matches in a night. That's just savage. It's just tough, like that's just all there is to it. But that's definitely been some of the best gut checks that I've had. I've never walked away the champion from it, unfortunately, but got plenty of second places. So
I would assume MMA is much more difficult than combat jiu-jitsu. Would you agree?
oh, by a lot, yeah, completely. And I would do MMA again if the money was right, but there's just like there's not a lot of money in it, and there's a lot of risk for not that much reward.
Yeah.
But then again, the other thing about MMA is, dude, it's just one fight.
Yeah.
Like one fight, when you have 4 matches in a day, I don't even care. 4 matches is still tougher than one fight, I think. 4 combat jiu-jitsu matches, let me say, versus one MMA fight. One MMA fight's easier.
Is that why you got out of the sport at the end of the day, because of the money and not worth the damage?
I actually didn't mean to get out of the sport. I was planning on going back to MMA. I was on an 8-fight winning streak. So, I was killing it. And then I lost 3 decisions to just like just better wrestlers. They just kind of eked out wins. And I was like, okay, time to get my jiu-jitsu so good. No wrestler stops me. And then I just got lost in jiu-jitsu. I just got lost. I started making some money in it, and it was just way more sustainable. I've already had tons of head trauma. Like I didn't need to get punched in the head anymore. But the intention was to go back. Like the UFC was the intention, and then like jiu-jitsu took off for me. So that's kind of where, how I went down that road.
Mm-hmm. Last question, the dead orchard. How did you sort of stumble across this technique?
That's exactly right. I stumbled across it. I was actually doing what Eddie Bravo, you'd get you get mission control, then you get crackhead control, and then you do the pump to the toss to spiderweb. Okay. That was like the path that I was working on. And so the way you'd pump the elbows in from crackhead control, my long, skinny legs, they would just latch into a figure 4. And I didn't even realize necessarily I was doing something different until I did it a whole bunch of times. And then people are like, oh, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'm just doing this, and, I wasn't the first person to ever do it. Like, I think someone did it in the UFC, like in 1997. And I don't know if he meant to, I don't know if it was on accident. I don't know what the deal was, but that was like the first time anyone that it had been recorded from what I'm aware of. And then I came on the scene and started doing it to people, and other guys were kind of maybe doing it at the same time too, or whatever. But like I did it to Barry Yoshida and EBI too. And, so I feel like I kind of was just like one of the first to, again, maybe popularize it more. And Eddie named it after me. I didn't name it, we were talking about what to name it, and he goes, "Oh, the Dead Orchard." And so everyone just stuck, you know what I mean? But honestly, purely on accident. And there's guys who have more of them in competition than me, but I think I think Barrett Yoshida might be, and here, I could be wrong about this, but this is what Kaio Terra told me. Kaio told me it wasn't just crazy, the Dead Orchard or whatever. I guess I was the first one to tap Barrett in no-gi ever, but it was with the Dead Orchard. So both of those things put together, and dude, I destroyed his arm. The dude, I mean, like, feel bad, but like, he wouldn't tap. He made me like fuck it up, and it got fucked up. It popped many times, and it was bruised from wrist to armpit. Yeah. So that's kind of how that went.
And like you had mentioned, you have like long, skinny legs. And I think that technique favors that body type. I have like shorter, stockier legs. Does that mean the Dead Orchard is just not going to happen for me?
No, it can definitely still happen. It just probably your angles need to be a little bit. It's just like a triangle choke, right? Like, I've heard guys be like, "Oh, my legs are too short for triangle chokes." I'm like, bullshit. I show them the right angle and they're like, "Oh, wow, I can do triangle chokes."
Mhm.
But if you got short stocky legs and the dude you're going against is a freaking bowling ball, then yeah, I mean, good luck. You know what I mean? But I have hit it on, in competition, dude, a 300-pound black belt. You know what I mean? And I actually think that's why I'm good at rubber guard, because when I was learning rubber guard, my number one training partner was a dude who weighed at least 250 at the time, and he was like 5'8". So to work rubber guard on such a big dude and on such a kind of short, stocky, thick dude, it just made it so that when I went against guys my own size and shape, it just slipped right on, So that was just something that just by chance happened, and it definitely affected it.
Awesome, dude. Well, I really appreciate your time. Nathan, is there anything you want to go over before we get out of here? Anything we missed?
No, I just want to say, if anyone wants to, check me out, Nate Orch 10P on Instagram, and also the school that I'm opening out here. It's called School of Martial Alchemy, SOMA, School of Martial Alchemy, but it's a 10th Planet Jiu Jitsu affiliation and a J-Flow Judo affiliation. So anyone's in Utah or just wants to check it out, yeah, man, we got our website's about to be popping off, and again, I'm pretty easy to find on Instagram. So anyone wants to reach out, boom.
All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. Definitely check that out. And Nathan, I really want to thank you for your time here, and I'm looking forward to seeing you compete in the future. Thanks for joining us.
And maybe we will finally cross paths in real life someday.
Absolutely, yeah. If I'm ever in Utah, can I hit you up and come roll?
Hit me up, please, bro.
Yeah, I'm dealing with a like a sports hernia right now, so I haven't rolled in like 2 months. I'm dying right now, but hopefully I can get back to it.
Yeah. Well, good luck healing up, brother. And thank you for having me on. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks so much, guys. All right. Take care, guys. Remember, the Everyday Jiu Jitsu podcast is everything you need to know about Jiu Jitsu. Peace.